It's Friday. We're back again. It's Ask the Coach. This year is flying past. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym, and this is Ask the Coach, where we bring in coaches to answer your questions, queries, challenges, problems, anything that's going on at the moment. And we're here to help and support you. So I've got 3 coaches with me, 2 of which are new. So I will get them to do introductions, but let me just explain how this works. We have 5 questions that have already been asked over the last 2 weeks since we had the last session. If you have your own question, feel free to put it into the chat and we will endeavour to answer that. If we don't know the answer, because, hey, there's 4 of us, we might not know, we then get a coach on the next one that can answer it for you. That's how it works. Now, you may not be able to stay here. This is usually around half an hour, 40 minutes or so. If you can't stay for the whole thing, but there is a question you definitely want answered, then please go to the question and answers. You'll see those and you can vote for them. So that's what I'd like you to do. Get a little bit active with us. Vote for your favourite questions. We'll answer them in that order while the coaches are introducing themselves. So I'm going to go to Declan first, because Declan, you have been here before. You know what you're doing.
I have, yeah.
You can share with everyone who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Declan Bradley. I'm a partner at a law firm called Doyle Clayton. And I'm the resident sort of recruitment specialist, and I help recruitment businesses with employment, data protection, and their commercial issues. So yeah, whatever around that you need, feel free to get in touch and I can help.
Fantastic. Declan, your voice just always, every time you speak, I'm like,
well, as long as you can understand it.
Definitely.
This is my radio voice, my TV voice. When I'm back home, it's a lot. It's a lot more.
Declan's link
strong.
is there, his LinkedIn profile at the top there in the chat. So do click on that if you would like to get in touch. And if you've got any queries or questions, he'd love to hear from you. Right, let's go to Sarah next, because Sarah, you were due to be with us last month. Unfortunately, you got very ill, but you're here now and you're much better. So that's great. Introduce yourself, please.
I am indeed. Thank you very much for having me after being poorly. I don't like letting anybody down, but yeah, I'm Sarah Naylor. I go underneath the title Sarah J. Naylor because just to differentiate myself from the other Sarahs. There seem to be a plethora of them out there. I'm a life and career transformation strategist. I'm the founder of Naylor George Recruitment. I've got my own coaching practice. I've got a podcast, Harnessing Happiness, and I've written a book. I've been on before about my book. I've got a digital course, and I do lots of things. I love sort of energy and supporting and promoting people and aligning people predominantly with their talents and passions so they can live a life on purpose, because actually when you do that and you do your job at the same time that's in line with all of that, you're going to live a happier and healthier life. So that's me. Thank you for having me here.
I'm so glad you're here. Your energy, I love it. Put the book up again, because that obviously is what you were talking about, and that, yeah, shining light on you, finding your passion, finding that job that's right. But you're right, you've got so many jobs in recruitment. You're a very busy woman.
Yes.
Now, then you said there was a lot of Sarah Naylors around, hence why you had the J. There are not a lot of Chikere, and I'm sorry, I can't. I know I'm going to make the surname. So please introduce yourself, Chikere. We'd love to hear who you are.
Thank you. I'm quite unique, aren't I? So my name is Chikere Igebokwe. I am the founder of Inclusive, which is a DEI consultancy, and also Allyship, which is a community for allies to come together in a safe space and have difficult conversations. I love all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm a true believer in awareness, education, and action, and I go out to organisations and teach them about all things diversity, and I'm really pleased to be here.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have you. We've got to focus this Q1 on diversity, equity and inclusion. So when I reached out to you, I was really pleased that you were happy to come and join us here. Please do put the links to your groups in the chat so people can actually join up with those as well. Okay, so we've got a couple of votes coming in. So I'm hoping that means that you're all here for the ride for the whole time. I'm going to go to question 3 first. So Sarah, that's going to be you kicking off while Chikere is putting those links in. We've got so much business at the moment. Most recruitment companies are saying this. There's jobs hand over foot at the moment. But this person on our BD webinar with us was saying, my manager keeps telling me I've got to do PD calls and I want a second opinion. It was like going to a doctor. It's like, I'm not convinced. I want a second opinion. So Sarah, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, interesting one actually, because the way I've built my business up is that hand on heart, all my business comes into me because I've got repeat business and I actually don't do any BD work at all. I mean, periodically I'll pick the phone up because actually I do quite like talking to people. But I've heard this story before from other people working within recruitment, because I've been in the industry since 1987. And I understand what your manager wants you to do and why. It's because you can't necessarily rely on that regular business. And it does seem a little bit like, why should I do this when I've got all this business coming in? And I have to agree with you. I think, well, if you've got the business and you've got plenty of business there, service the business. To me, actually, it doesn't seem like a good use of your time to be consistently trying to get new business in, because you're not actually then filling the business that you've already got. So it doesn't, for me, it doesn't sit right. However, actually, there is an element of, if you can do 5 calls a day to fit those in, you're building up that future funnel, because obviously, as we know, it takes about 3 months from perhaps starting that first phone call to actually getting business, to have business that lasts forever. I mean, I've worked with clients now for years and years and years, but it took that time from making those initial phone calls, and it's always a 3-month turnaround. Well, it has always seemed to me to be that way within recruitment. I mean, I listen to everybody else and what their thoughts are, but yeah. So I hear your pain. Maybe just keep your manager appeased and pick out 5 calls and go, yes, I've done those. Because when I first started in recruitment, my manager was always on me, and it was like, and I got to the point of going, right, I'm going to outthink this woman. And I would go, yes, Pam, and before you ask, I've done this, and this as well. So you know what, rather than fight it, accept it, do it, get on with it, and then crack on with the stuff that you actually want to do. But honest hand on heart, feel your pain, because I don't really do much myself, because I've got that regular flow coming in.
It's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? That's the problem, that you need the jobs. So you've got loads going on at the moment, but we know things change really quickly. It can actually switch really quickly. I think we've got a good 6-9 months actually of this market as it is at the moment. Well, one of the other questions about what's going on in the world. So it could be that, certainly with my consultants, it was about, well, while you're busy, while you're happy, while everything's going really well and you've got lots of jobs to work on, tackle those tough clients, because actually you don't want their business at the moment. So those 5 calls could be to those really tough clients that are working with your competitors, they're really happy at the moment, and use it to build the relationship, because it probably will take you 6-9 months, a year. 7 years was my longest that it took a client to bring over. Luckily, it wasn't me tapping away for 7 years. I moved to a new branch and they told me they'd been trying to get Kimberly Clark on board for 7 years. I made a phone call. The HR lady had changed, got a meeting, got the business. They thought I was amazing. But that switch, you just don't know. When you call, you've got to make your own luck, haven't you, in recruitment? So calling then, when the HR lady had changed and she was looking at who's out there, then that worked for us, and they became our biggest client for about 4 years. So the opportunity is there. You've just got to grab it. So I agree with you on that. 5 calls a day, 10 pushing it if you've got the space. But focus on the tougher ones that are going to come off later down the line. And you'll see, keep an eye on your numbers, see the jobs coming in. As they start dropping off or the quality is not as good, then get back on the phones and make sure that you're moving forwards with those other clients, because otherwise you're going to potentially miss out. Declan, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, that's all great practical advice, but obviously being the super lawyer, then if your manager's telling you to do something and it's within your job description, within your job role, then you need to be careful about not doing that, because it could be what's called a breach of it could be a breach of a reasonable instruction, which can be a disciplinary matter. So you need to be careful around that. If they're asking you to do something outside your role, then obviously that's something you can raise with them, ideally informally at the start, and then obviously that could lead on to a grievance or whatever. But just be careful about not doing what you're told in the workplace, because that's why you're there, really.
I've never even thought about it from that. The amount of managers that have conversations with me, they're not doing what I'm asking them to do. I never thought of going to the legal side. It's always about the motivation and getting the conversations. But I'm going to use that.
It's a carrot and stick,
Yeah, I always remember though working for a national recruitment agency back in the mid-90s, and you've got all these targets and things like that you've got to do, and you've got to work by this script and that script. And I thought, well, do you know what? I'm doing it my way, because if I do it my authentic way, I'm going to build business up. But if it doesn't work, beat me over the back with your stick. But the way I worked. But I think, you know, what you were saying about continuing those calls, because actually you can have all those vacancies on, can't you? And I know I've got a board here of about, I don't know, a dozen vacancies I'm working on my own. You know, it doesn't mean to say you've got candidates for them, does it? Certainly at the moment. So look at those roles as well that actually you could get on because you've got a good candidate. Because let's face it, that's the other way around with recruitment. You've got a good candidate, market them out, do your business development calls that way and get them placed.
Totally agree with that. Brilliant. I think we've covered that one. Hopefully that gave me a good enough answer. And if all else fails, do what your manager says. Right, question 2 then. So I'm coming to Chikere. On our recent workplace survey, we do this for companies. So we've done quite a few workplace surveys at the beginning of this year, and diversity is coming bottom. We've got about 5-6 questions on it. It's coming bottom on all of them. Now, that's not for a want of trying, let's say. They are recruiting. They do want people from diverse backgrounds, especially from BAME backgrounds, but they just don't even know where to find them. So any support, help, suggestions you can give, Chikere, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Diversity definitely is the topic of the moment, and it continues to be. What I always say to the companies that I work with, is your company ready for diverse talent? It's amazing that you are thinking about that, but I think it takes a lot of work to ensure that you are ready for diverse talent. You know, you really do have to change your organization from the inside out. And once you do that, you will find that you will attract diverse talent. So it really does involve a lot of awareness, a lot of education, creating safe spaces so that diverse talent can feel safe and wanted and included within your organization. So there's a lot of work to do with just, putting out an advert and saying, oh my gosh, I can't find diverse talent. You really need to work at it. And what I say to a lot of organizations is that, diversity is a journey, it's a continuous journey. So it's not even the case of you have a few conversations and you do a few workshops and webinars and then you're fully fledged in all things diversity. You really have to work at it. So it's a case of the why. Do you understand your why? Do you understand why you want to get diverse talent into your organization? You really have to think about that. Do you understand what diversity means? What does diversity mean to you? What are you trying to achieve? Why are you trying to achieve it? There's lots of questions you have to ask yourself first and foremost. Someone like myself, when you talk about diversity within your organization, would I want to work within your organization? Are you attracted to someone like myself? So there's an awful lot of work that needs to be put in, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much work they have to do on the inside before they can attract diverse talent. So I always say to people, the whole awareness, education, and then action is important. So really try and sort out your organization internally first. I always say that an organization's website is a window into that organization. So if I have a look at your organization, if I have a look at your website, do I see diversity? When I look at your senior leaders, do I see diversity there? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done internally before you bring those diverse talent in. And once you do that work, diverse talent will definitely come.
So this I think is the issue that we have with a lot of our clients, that a lot of them are around the sort of 5, 10, 15 staff. And of course, they've brought people in that they know. And we tend to know people like ourselves, don't we? And therefore it's grown, and then they've asked them and they brought them in. So it's not this opportunity to break that. And that's exactly where they've got stuck.
Exactly. And the whole affinity bias, is rife in recruitment. We do tend to hire people like us, people we know, referrals. So we will, you will find that you have whole teams of the same type of people. So if you bring somebody different into that team, how will that person feel? Can they fit into that team? Do they feel included? Can they be their true, authentic selves? So really, before you really set out to attract diverse talent, make sure you do the work. Okay, so really make sure that you change your organization from the inside before you actually go out there to actually recruit diverse talent.
Yeah, because you're right. Because you might bring someone in, they're not going to feel comfortable because the culture doesn't reflect it in any way, shape, or form. And that was the type of conversations we were having, because they have things like quarterly incentives. So we were looking at those and saying, are they actually something that everyone would enjoy? Or actually, is it because you're suggesting them because that's what you like? And therefore we work on that. So there was lots of discussion, but it's the action at the end of it. How do we actually make a difference? Declan, you got something to add?
Yeah, it can be a bit controversial, but no, companies can rely on what's called, well, it's a section of the Equality Act called, it's 159, where you can take, you may not want to, but you can take positive action in certain circumstances where you feel in your workforce or in the industry in general, certain sections of the community are not properly represented. Then if you have candidates of equal qualification and experience, then you can give preference to the person who is underrepresented in that workforce. So that's something that can be done. It's an amazingly complicated area of the Equality Act, and so definitely do take advice, but it's just something there to be aware of. I don't come across many clients who actually use it though. Probably for legal reasons, because it's hard to get right, but probably also just for PR reasons that maybe they don't want to do what is known as positive discrimination.
Yeah,
so,
really interesting.
I remember I was still a recruiter, and it was a big thing then, actually, positive discrimination. And there was lots of discussion around, is it the right thing to do? Is it the wrong thing to do? Like you say, you can't win on that, I don't think, either way. Chikere, what do you think?
No, I was just going to say, you know, as well as recruiting diverse talent, it's all about retaining them as well. So it's a case of once you get diverse talent through the door, what next? How do you retain them? You know, and that, you know, that's really, really key as well. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation as well.
Yes, that was the discussion around those ongoing benefits, and do they reflect, are they relevant as well? But see, that's where I would want the person coming in to share and give ideas, but then I would feel bad putting it on that person and saying, well, look, we haven't got the knowledge, so can you share? Because now all of a sudden it's down to you.
And that's why the whole self-work really is important. You know, you don't really leave it up to the diverse talent to actually do all the work. So make sure you've done all that work. Okay, that whole self-work really is important, because it's up to you to do the work. You know, that really is part of allyship. As an ally, we have to put in that work. So really important that you put the work in, you do the self-education, so that, you know, you're not dependent on that talent to actually educate you.
Yeah. No, like that. Thank you for that. And we've got those links in there as that are going to help. So let me just finish that question and see what's coming up next. So next one is question 4. Okay, all that's going on in the world at the moment, it can make our job seem pretty insignificant. I don't know if you felt that. I've definitely felt that this week as well. Can the coaches give me some motivation to keep doing what I'm doing, please? Go on then, Sarah, dive in.
Well, I just want to come in and say, you know, as a recruiter, and this is something I recognised really early on in my life, that we play an important part in people's lives. And if what you're doing is authentic, I mean, I've never looked at it from the big money side of things. I've always been keen to listen to my candidates, listen to my clients, and make sure I'm putting the right person into the right job. And actually, if you are working with that person to help them align their career with their life and live a happier life as a result, because it's all about happiness. And if we can radiate out energetically more harmony and happiness through helping somebody on their career path, rather than being in a position where they're in a job which they don't enjoy, they don't like, so they're then starting to sort of, the inside starts to get fed up and frustrated. It tunes into the negative stuff that we're being fed through the TV and the news. So actually, if you can help a person on their journey to be more aligned with their career, that will radiate out in their life, and that provides that buffer to all of this awful stuff that's going on in the world, which I choose. I recognise it, I acknowledge it, and it's horrible. But we have to do our bit, because otherwise we'll all sink in the quagmire. We have to do our bit to help people live a happier, healthier life, and we can do that through recruitment. And you have that power in your hands to do that. So take it, nurture it, take care of it, and be mindful of it, and really do your best for that person to help them and your clients get the right people in. And do that inner work that we've just been discussing about working with diversity. Get people in, and you know, it's about values and positivity and emotional intelligence. Work at it and focus it on that way. And Sorry.
No, I'm with you on that. I was due to be working with a company yesterday morning that's actually in Ukraine, in Odessa, and obviously we cancelled it yesterday morning after everything had happened. But I suddenly had a thought with you talking now. I can remember back when I was a recruiter it would have been around 94, must have been around that time, because it was the Rwandan crisis at that point. And I can remember a young gentleman who's only 18, Moses Mapundu, there we go, nearly 30 years ago. But him joining, now I wasn't very politically aware at that. I didn't realise what he'd gone through, but he'd come over here and we put him out into lots of different jobs because he didn't know what he wanted to do. So as a temporary, we got him lots of opportunities and said, have a go at everything that we do. There was 5 different sectors, see what you fancy. And he loved the catering side and he loved working in the kitchens, and he went on to qualify as a top chef. I must see if I can find whatever happened to him. But that's exactly what you're saying there. We have that opportunity because he then got his brother over and then other people as well. And we could help them and support that family. And there's going to be situations, they're already obviously queuing to get out of Ukraine. So there may be the potential that you can help these people in some way in relation to work. So let's look at it on the positive point.
Exactly.
We have that chance to do that and we can make a huge difference.
And I've just done that with people from coming over from Hong Kong who've left Hong Kong because of China taking over. I've placed 2 people not long over in the UK into 6-month contracts as British national overseas visas. And I had somebody on an interview yesterday as well who's come over from Hong Kong. And that, that fills me full of sort of, I'm helping people who have moved. And it's massive when the people are having to move their whole lives because of cultural changes in their country. And it's just, it's making me go all tingly, just sort of having that sort of playing that part, but it's being mindful of it as well. It's being taking care, of people and their emotions.
Yeah. Yep. So let's look on the positives of what we can do to help them in any way, shape or form, because that's going to get bigger and bigger over the next time. Okay, let's do that then. So the next one we've got is question 5. So I'm coming to you, Declan. We've got, I couldn't believe this when this company said this week. We've got 1,000+ candidates on our database.
100,000+.
Sorry, 100,000. It was 100,000+, because I asked them to do a search and they went, no, we can't do that. I went, why not? I said, because it crashes every time. So we can't do a search on how many we've got in the database. Last time we did it was 100,000 and then it's never worked since. So worried about GDPR issues and having that much data on individuals. So please give them some insights and some recommendations on what they should be doing with this database, please.
Okay. So look, that they're processing such a significant amount of individuals' personal data, but they're also seeking to understand what safeguards they should put in place, and that's a good start at the very least. They're thinking about this stuff. So my initial reaction, the initial thing that I say to clients in this situation is that, look, you want to focus and invest on your cybersecurity technology and protocols. Because it's the big data breaches that the ICO, the UK data regulator, the Information Commissioner's Office, that's the big data breaches they go after and use their money to enforce. Like with BA and Hotel Marriott, I think BA had a data breach involving hundreds of thousands of people's data. Hotel Marriott, I think it was 440 million people's data or something like that. Obviously, both of those companies then were hit with huge fines, which maybe the M wasn't huge, but it was still huge in the big scheme of things. So so invest in that technology to start with, your cybersecurity technology. That also brings up those fines, a sort of commercial risk. And obviously the usual way to mitigate the commercial risk is with insurance. Now I'm aware that there's various cybersecurity policies out there available. Now I'm not an insurance advisor, I can't give insurance advice, but my firm, we do have lots of contacts in either cybersecurity area itself or in the cybersecurity insurance area. So feel free to get in touch and I can point people in the right direction to get those protections in place. So that's a technical and commercial side, but from the legal side of things, what they need to do is an audit. It sounds like maybe they can't because there's too many, but they do need to be able to audit that huge data set. And they need to understand what data they have. Mainly summarizing this, what data they have, why they have it, and do they have a lawful basis for processing that data under GDPR. So that lawful basis could be something like do they need all that data to perform the contract with the client? as a candidate, or maybe to comply with a sort of legal obligation. Now, do they need that for the record keeping obligations under the conduct regs, or to do with IR35 or agency worker regs, something like that? Okay, so whatever data they have that they don't have a lawful basis for processing, they should delete that in accordance with their retention policies. And they should only keep the data that they need for their lawful purposes, so they comply with what's called the data minimization principle under Article 5 of GDPR. So that's some stuff that they can do. That data audit will also throw up whether they need to appoint a data protection officer. There's lots of other things they need to be thinking about. Do they need to appoint a data protection officer? Do they have the right safeguards in place for international transfers? Do they have to perform a data protection impact assessment given their use of that data? If they're migrating all that data to a new CRM system and the suppliers based in the States with their servers in the States, that could cause a high risk to the data subjects. And so they need to carry out that data protection impact assessment. Aside from GDPR, they might also want to think about, are they using that data for marketing purposes? If so, they might have to also look into the Privacy and Electronic Communications Regulations, the PECR, to make sure they have the appropriate consents in place for doing that marketing. So lots and lots of stuff there to think about, and doing a data audit will obviously help with that. I can help with that. So do feel free to come and have a chat with me, and I can point you I can give you good pointers about how to do that. I do that. I've done it for clients in the past. I've done these big audits for them. And also, I should also say that, of course, in the spring, I will have a course on the recruiting gym. So a 3-module course to help companies like this comply with their data protection obligations. So the first module will do an introduction into the GDPR, the PECR, and the Data Protection Act 2018. The second module will focus on a deep dive on the GDPR, because that's the main one really, as it relates to the recruitment industry specifically. And then the third module will be more of a practical session about how to actually do a data protection audit. So yeah, so watch the space, but hopefully that has given our listeners some things to think about.
Well, I think we might already have your first client then, because Holly's saying she's doing a full GDPR audit at the moment. So hopefully it won't be too late for her. If you need it now, link up with Declan and he can help you and sort you with that. But if not, we're looking forward to that.
I've got a set process of how I do these things. I've got fixed costs that I can give for that kind of work.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. I mean, it is a minefield. A lot of companies, they brag about their 25, 30, 40,000 candidates, which obviously they've gained over. I mean, this company it's been going 25 years. So no wonder they've got 100,000. But what a nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean,
do an audit on it.
If you haven't dealt with a candidate in 10 years, why do you still have their information? So
exactly.
So you need a way to determine who you're still dealing with and why you're still dealing with them, and so that should all be thought about as part of the audit process.
Brilliant. Lovely. Right. Rod had a follow-up question with regards to the diversity. So I'm going to come to you, Chikere. It's, I think for recruitment, there are 2 issues. First, doing the work on the culture and being ready to accept diverse talent. But the second part is the employer branding. So how do you authentically and effectively communicate that readiness to the market? Because obviously there's been a switch.
Hi, Rod. Do you know something? What I would say is, I'll say be really authentic. Okay. I also advise organizations to show that journey, show the journey you've been on, showcase it on your website. And I think what really is important, especially when we talk about all things diversity, we have the comfortable parts of diversity and the parts that are not so comfortable. So what I always say to people is, do not feel afraid. Don't feel afraid at all, and don't feel afraid to make a mistake. So definitely showcase it. Show your clients, your candidates, what you are actually doing. How your journey's going, and don't feel afraid to talk about the mistakes as well. Because I think a lot of the times we are scared to talk about the mistakes. But one thing I would say, remember, we're humans. Of course, we're going to make a mistake. We make mistakes all the time. So what I would say is, don't let the fear of making a mistake prevent you from this journey. But I'll definitely say showcase it. That's the key thing. Use your website. Your website is such a powerful tool. Get speakers in as well. Talk about the difficulties you have found, the difficulties you are currently finding. And I think, people would really like that honesty. So what I would say is, get involved with whoever does your marketing as well, and let them showcase that journey. A lot of marketers have got the tools to help you do this, but it will take time, and it's something that doesn't happen immediately. And as I said to you all before, it's not even a case of, you do a few things, you have a few workshops, you put a few policies in place, and then you're fully fledged, diversity experts. That doesn't work like that. So just remember, it's an ongoing journey, and just showcase that journey, and then it will seem, and it will show that it really is authentic. So just take your time, and that's what I would say.
That's such a fantastic answer. And again, people wouldn't necessarily think about doing that. They'd want to get to the end and then go, look at us, look what we've done, all the rest of it. But the journey getting there, I'm getting flashes of TikTok here and following all the videos as people do these things. And you can see from beginning to end. I mean, I love it. It could be brilliant in that way. And you're right. That's where the authenticity comes in then, because they know that you've done the work and that you've got there.
I know.
Brilliant.
And I know this sounds really morbid, Rod and everyone else who's listening. There is no end. So it's not even the case of, as I said, you do a few things and then you'll finish. It's ongoing. And Rod, it just sounds like this really is important to you. It means a lot. So happy to talk, definitely reach out to me. But as I said, do not feel afraid to make a mistake and showcase that journey. This is me. This is what I'm doing. I'm human. I will make a mistake, but this is really important to me.
Brilliant.
I was going to say I've been doing a lot in the last over the last sort of 9 months in terms of social media to do with my coaching practice and one thing or other, and I've learned a lot. And one of the big things I just wanted to echo what Chikere has just said, and it's so powerful, is that authenticity of the story of you, your journey, and what's happening. Because then people will connect with you because you're not trying to sort of market something in some perfect branding, but you are being you. You're demonstrating what it is that you want to do, what you're wanting to achieve, and life's a journey, full stop, isn't it? We are never an end product. We are human. We are going to make mistakes, but it's about being honest. It's just looking at it from a different way and channeling your energy. It's do your thing and be authentic and honest and showcase it.
Totally. Yeah, definitely. And I always talk, when I do my sessions, I'm on a journey as well. I'm constantly educating myself. I'm surrounded by books. I'm reading. I'm having conversations. And I'm not afraid to make a mistake, but I'm equipping myself with that information. And if I do make a mistake, I'm sorry, pick myself up, dust myself off and carry on. So that's what I suggest that we all do. For a lot of people, these, when you talk about diversity, as I said to you before, it's, it can make people feel really, really, really scared. I have people saying to me, Chikere, I'm scared. I'd rather not say anything because I don't want to put my foot in it. So I would say, try and get rid of that fear, try and, do the work, showcase the work, and just, get on with it, and it'll be fine.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? The social media, unfortunately, celebrities putting their foot wrong, and actually you're right, it's them not putting their hand up and saying I got it wrong. It's them trying to defend it that's caused the problems that's then carried on. But we all make mistakes. So let's just all try and be better and move forwards and admit when you're wrong. Right. Our last question then. So I'm going to come to Declan first, but then happy for anyone else to have a chip in if they've got something to add to it as well. So this was someone saying, and it just made me go, a little bit, I want to check on this from a legal point of view. Okay. I believe getting to know your candidate outside their work life, as it can help them to trust you more than other recruiters and feel more inclined to take the position you're offering. So building commitment, building relationships, great. Okay. But what do I need to be aware of from a legal point of view to make sure I'm not crossing the line? Because they were talking about outside of their work life.
Yeah, so I suppose that's a good question, but I suppose the starting point is to understand what do they mean by getting to know them outside of their work life. If they're just suggesting their usual coffee or an after-work drink away from the business premises, they have more of an informal chat. I can't really see anything wrong with that. No, I do it all the time myself, with clients and prospective clients and contacts and things like that.
I think it was more sort of asking about what they do, their interests, their hobbies, finding out more about their outside work as part of the interview.
Okay, as part of the interview. Okay. So just need to be careful then how they use that data, that information about this person. I suppose if it's part of an interview, then they are given it for the purposes of maybe a recruitment search. So it may be appropriate under data protection law to use that information for the purposes of finding the right role for them, for example. But if you go about outside the interview and you start looking around the internet to find out stuff about them, for example, or maybe you do have an informal chat with them on a coffee and they give you some information about their personal life, and then you start creating some kind of profile about them where you're making recruitment decisions and they don't know about that. And it's not for the purpose that they released that information, for you to go off and find them a job or sway them in a certain direction, then you need to be careful, because that could be a breach of data protection legislation, because you could be breaching what's called the purpose limitation principle under GDPR, and you won't have a lawful basis for processing that information if you are trying to get it from, say, Facebook or somewhere like that, to help you understand them better and to make recruitment decisions about them. And so just be careful of that sort of GDPR side, because there are, as we mentioned, big fines available, and those fines in the UK can be up to £17.5 million, or 4% of global annual turnover. So just be careful about how you're going about getting that, how you're going about getting information from them. If it's in an interview and they give it to you freely, that might be fine. But if you're doing something else, think about that.
Can I just pick up on that?
Yeah,
because you talked about going off on social media and finding something else, and a lot of employers would do that on potential employees, looking at their Facebook and Twitter and seeing if there's anything there that goes against their values. So where do they stand with that?
So my view on that would be that they, and this probably applies more actually to the end user hire than the recruiter potentially, but yeah, that they may be going beyond the reason that information was made available, and so they are most likely breaching that purpose limitation principle under Article 5 of the GDPR. And so they could be getting themselves into issues with that individual, because they can bring claims themselves under data protection legislation. Never usually worth that much. But the more concerning bit is them making a complaint to the ICO, and the ICO then doing something about it, because they can impose those huge fines. So employers shouldn't be doing that. Now, they should not be going on mainly your Facebooks and things like that, or Instagram. If someone's putting up very clearly work-related stuff on, say, Twitter or LinkedIn, maybe it's more relevant there to use it. But yeah, where you're using data that wasn't provided for that purpose, you need to be very careful, because, as I say, you're breaching that principle. Plus, then you likely don't have the lawful basis for processing that data either. So yeah, you need to be very careful of that.
I always recommend recruiters to have a work Twitter and a personal Twitter, and a work Facebook and a personal Facebook. Yeah. So yeah, keep them separate.
Yeah, exactly. And just keep them with the theme of today, I suppose, of diversity and inclusion. You need to be very careful as well about how you use information about someone's personal life, because you might inadvertently use it in a discriminatory way where that information relates to and your use of it somehow disadvantages a person because of a protected characteristic that they have, under the Equality Act. So that's not good just from a practical perspective, and it doesn't help with diversity doing that, but also it might lead you to liability, and there might be discrimination claims. And the protected characteristics, and I've got a little list, so don't forget it. So it's age, disability, gender reassignment, marital and civil partnership status, race, religion or belief, and gender and sexual orientation. So those are protected on the Equality Act. You need to be careful about how you might use information that might relate to those protected characteristics.
We'll get all that listed out in the course back in the gym. If you aren't a member of the Recruiting Gym, we give 5 free courses. So click on the green button that's there. You can sign up for Ask the Coach. We'll allocate the others to you. And actually, a comment you made earlier about cybersecurity, one of our Meet the Expert, where they do give free training, was on cybersecurity. That's Francis West on Security Everywhere. So yeah, we'll put a link to that one as well. I can see Charlotte's already put a link to we did a diversity TED Talk last week around removing bias and using the term purple flag. So if there's something you're not comfortable with, or if there's something where someone's obviously using a term that's derogatory to any of those areas, have either a purple flag that you can wave, or just say purple flag. So it's not a red flag. It's not like, danger. It's, we need to be aware of this. We need to change that. And my example there is I call everyone guys, even if they're all women. Hi, guys. And again, it's just terminology that we need to make sure.
I tend to do that as well. So it's maybe something I need to think about in terms of that. So,
purple flags.
Yeah,
Sarah,
a lot of people do that.
Yes, I was just curious, because when I read the question about the question we're talking about, my interpretation of it was that person's talking about getting to know that person outside of work to make friends with them, to make it easier to get to know them, to actually help them in a job. And then I was thinking more along the morals of it. You know, is that really sort of the right thing to do? Are you just literally, it doesn't feel very authentic to get
no, and you wouldn't have time to do it with every one of your candidates.
Exactly. So I was thinking, well, because that's the way I read it, and I thought,
yeah, that's why I thought it was mainly.
Want to do that? Yeah.
That's why I thought it was just the usual. You meet someone for a coffee and an after work drink, don't you? That's the usual way in the business world of getting to know someone, outside of the work life. And that's why I thought
this
that
was
was
asking questions during the interview to really find out more about them as a person. And hands up, I used to do that all the time as a recruiter 25 years ago, because I even made placements where I made sure they both knew each other's hobbies. And one was a horse rider and a horse jumper, and so was the client, and she couldn't choose between two people. And it was that tipped it over, because she just felt more aligned. But of course, that's total bias now.
Yeah, and especially because there could be a socioeconomic bias given that type of activity, for example. You know.
Exactly.
But isn't it about people building relationships and finding that level of rapport? I mean, yes, I obviously totally understand that. But I think when you are talking to a candidate and you're talking to somebody, and things come up, don't they, in conversation? There's things that connect with people, so it could be anything. You've just something that resonates, that's how people then fit, and that's where the values and working from the emotional intelligence side of it come in, rather than actually trying to do it like you've just said, actually actively going, actually this person would fit because of that. I actually made a placement like that myself many years ago, and it was just indirect. They both turned out to be Derby County fans, and I hadn't put the two together.
Yeah,
but that's why they got the job.
We're back to people like themselves, don't they? But that's where diversity falls down, because we're not getting anywhere with regards to that. Okay, brilliant. That was the last question. If you've got any others, you've got to be quick, get it in now, because we're going to be wrapping up. That's our 40 minutes. So thank you for all of that. Loads of great advice in there as well, and practical things that people can take away. I always love this, because I always learn from these sessions as well. So thank you for your time. To the coaches, please do connect with them. If you need any help in any of these areas, they're your people to go to help. Click on the green button that's on there. Come and join us in the recruiting gym as well, and find out. There's 200 sessions like this one that you've got access to for free to find out information. So there's Ask the Coach, Meet the Expert, which is training, the Daily Workout Lite, which is a lot of our guests that we've had on the nearly 500 sessions of the Daily Workout. Next week we hit 500 because we started the day of lockdown. And you've got success stories as well, where people have been set up a recruitment company themselves, been very successful at it, and we interview them the same 10 questions. And then the final one is menopause and your business. So again, we've done a lot on that over the last couple of years, and how it impacts you in a business, and especially as a recruiter working with clients, candidates, your colleagues, and menopause affects everyone, so in some way, shape or form. So there's lots of information to help you with that as well. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again soon. Love today. Been a brilliant session. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.